Have you ever felt like you're walking on eggshells around someone, constantly questioning your own reality, or wondering why you feel drained after every interaction with a particular person? What if I told you that person might be displaying narcissistic traits? And more importantly, that understanding this could be the key to reclaiming your peace of mind. Today, we're diving into narcissism, not to diagnose or to shame anyone, but to give you the tools to recognize these patterns and protect your emotional well-being. Stay with me because what you learn in the next 28 minutes could change how you navigate relationships forever. Hey there, and welcome back to Hope Regained. I'm your host, Christiane Boudreau, and this is where we rediscover the love for life by understanding the challenges that try to dim our light. I'm so glad that you're here today because we're tackling a topic that affects more people than we realize: narcissism. This is a topic really close to my heart because I lived in an abusive relationship that was exactly this. It came close to destroying me. And I want to make sure I reach out to help those that may still be stuck in something like this. Now, before we dive in, I want to be crystal clear about something. We're not here to diagnose anyone or throw around clinical terms carelessly. Narcissistic personality disorder is a real clinical condition, and it requires professional diagnosis. What we're talking about today is narcissistic traits and behaviors that can show up in everyone's life, including our own. So we're going to look at it from that standpoint rather than anything clinical. So let's start with the basics. When most people hear narcissist, they automatically think of someone who's just really into themselves, posting endless selfies, which the kids all today do, or bragging constantly. Clinical narcissism goes way deeper than that. At its core, narcissism is characterized by an inflated sense of self-importance, a deep need for excessive attention and admiration. And most importantly, and this is where you really need to pay attention, is the lack of empathy for others. But here's the twist. Underneath all that grandiosity often lies profound insecurity and shame. Think of it like an iceberg. The visible part above the water is all the confidence and self-promotion. But underneath, there's this massive chunk of vulnerability, fear of abandonment, and a desperate need for validation. A lot of times we want to place judgment, but we don't look at what the underlying problems really are. Now, there are actually two main types of narcissism that we should be aware of. The first one is easy to spot, and that's grandiose narcissism. This is the classic stereotype. Think big personality, demands for attention, believes they're special and superior. These folks often come across as charming in the beginning until the red flags start popping up. Then there's the other type, vulnerable narcissism. And this one's a lot harder to spot. These individuals may seem shy or self-deprecating, but they still have the same core belief that they're special. They might play the victim or use their sensitivity as a way to control situations. So how do we spot these patterns? Well, I'm going to share some key warning signs, and I want you to listen with an open heart, both for recognizing these traits in others and honestly examining our own behaviors too. So the first one I want you to look at is the empathy gap. And this is probably the biggest red flag. Someone who consistently cannot or will not try to understand your perspective or feelings. They might say things like, "You're too sensitive," or "That's not how I meant it," without ever acknowledging the impact of their actions. Everything is about them. This is a different one now. Notice how conversations flow. Do they always redirect back to their experiences? Or when you share good news, do they try to one up you? When you share struggles, do they minimize them or make it about their own problems? Then there's the charm rage cycle. And this is something that you may notice a lot, or that's been flagged, I guess, in abusive relationships. And maybe you can see it within what you're experiencing right now. Many people with narcissistic traits can be incredibly charming in the beginning. And we've seen that in a lot of cases. But watch what happens when they don't get their way or when they're being criticized. The mask can slip pretty quickly. Then we all know this one as well in abusive relationships: gaslighting. This is when someone makes you question your own reality. "That never happened," is something they might say. Or, "You're remembering it wrong." Or one that we hear a lot: "You're being over dramatic." If you find yourself consistently second guessing your own experiences, pay attention. Another one is boundary violations. And this is a red flag that you really have to pay attention to. It doesn't necessarily mean that person's narcissistic, but they're displaying narcissistic traits that can be really harmful. They struggle to respect your no, whether it's continuing to call after you've asked for space, or showing up unannounced, or pressuring you to change your mind about decisions you make. Again, these are red flags, so pay close attention. And last but not least is the victim complex. When confronted about their behavior, they flip the script, almost like a mirroring at times. Suddenly, they're the one being attacked, misunderstood, or treated unfairly and badly. Here's something really important. We all have moments where we display some of these behaviors. The difference is how often it happens, how intense it is, and our willingness to acknowledge and change these patterns when they're pointed out. A narcissist necessarily would be quite annoyed or offended if you tried to point it out or create an open discussion to try to work through the problem. So the impact on you is something the receiver, you should realize and recognize, because especially, again, I will bring up an abusive relationship because often this is where these traits are displayed. The impact it's going to have on you can be really detrimental, especially over time. And we really need to focus on what it feels like to be on the receiving end of narcissistic behavior, because this is where your healing is going to begin. In recognizing your feelings are valid. You might feel like you're constantly walking on eggshells, or questioning your own memory or perception of things. Do you feel emotionally drained after your interactions with this person? Or like nothing you ever do is ever going to be good enough? Or you could be very much isolated from your friends and family, your support network. Or sometimes you feel responsible for managing their emotions. Again, in an abusive relationship, these frequently come up, and it's something Really important to recognize and go within deep, that self-awareness, to see if this is where it's impacting you. Because I'll tell you, this isn't your imagination and it's not your fault. These are normal feelings to abnormal relationship dynamics. And I can speak for it wholeheartedly. Like I said, it close to destroyed me. And I don't want anybody to ever feel like that because it takes so much effort and work to come back from it. And you're worth it. One of the most damaging aspects is something called trauma bonding. This happens when there's intense emotional connection formed through cycles of abuse, then positive reinforcement. It's like an emotional roller coaster. The highs feel super great, wonderful, because the lows are so terrible. This is often the case in an abusive relationship. And I know because I felt it. So it's something that journaling, and I can say that self-awareness really helps you to identify. So the tricky part here are the strategies for dealing with these narcissistic people. This is where we get real. How do we actually deal with these situations? Well, the first one, strategy one, is to set and maintain boundaries. This is a non-negotiable. And the earlier you start in that relationship, the clearer it is that you will notice and recognize those red flags. You need to decide what behaviors you were willing to accept or not accept. And you need to stick to it. Remember, boundaries aren't walls at all. They're gates with you as the gatekeeper. Start small. Maybe it's, I won't engage in conversations where I'm being yelled at. Or I won't respond to texts after 10 p.m. The key is consistency. And again, setting these boundaries early on in the relationship. I know I learned one of the first things I started to do was, I'm ending this conversation because I will not be yelled at, and you're obviously not ready to have a regular conversation. That was key for me to learn that one. And that's where I started. I'm going to say sometimes it can fuel the anger. With a narcissistic person, when they start feeling like they're going to lose control, that will spark it. So just be aware of your environment, your circumstances, and don't put yourself in danger. Strategy number 2 is don't jade. That is an acronym to remember, and that will help you. JADE stands for justify, argue, defend, or explain. When you set a boundary, you don't owe anyone an explanation on why. No is a complete sentence. The more you explain, the more ammunition and fuel you're giving them to argue with you. So that means no, that's the end. There's nothing to justify. There's nothing to argue. There's nothing to defend. There's nothing to explain. Walk away. Easy as that. Again, in certain situations, please be aware of your environment. Don't put yourself in danger. Strategy number 3 is the gray rock method. And I find this one really works well more in a work environment or group setting. Especially if you can't completely remove someone from your life, you need to become as interesting as a gray rock. And you know what one of those is, because they sit there and don't spark any interest or anything exciting. Don't give them emotional reactions to feed off of. Short answers, minimal engagement. That's it. That's all. Nothing more, nothing in depth. Gray rock, you're a lump. Strategy number 4, document everything, please. That journal is going to be your key to you keeping your sanity. If you're in a situation where you need to maintain contact, and sometimes that's in co-parenting, or again, like I said, the workplace, keep records. Not only does it help you maintain your sanity so you can look back and realize, I'm not going crazy, but it also provides evidence in case something escalates. You'd be surprised how important those notes and those logs become in any court situation or at work if you have to deal with HR or a boss to look back and reflect. Strategy number 5. This is where you build your support network. Narcissists often try to isolate you, cut you off from your family and friends. This increases their power and control. That support network is everything to you. It's going to help you build and strengthen and break away from the situation. Fight back by making connections with people who see value in you. And I can guarantee you there's a lot of value in you. I can't tell you how many times you're worth it. I'll say it over and over again. You are. I don't care who you are or what you think about yourself. I'm telling you now, you have value. This isn't about trash talking anyone. It's about having reality checks and emotional support. So you're not going to sit there and whine on or anything else. It's not about that. It's about somebody lifting you up so you can build your strength to deal with it. Strategy number 6, focus on what you can control. You can't change a narcissist. It's impossible. But you can change your responses and your choices. I keep saying living happily or deciding how you want to live in positivity is a choice. It doesn't mean it's going to be easy. It's work, but it's so worth it because it can change everything. It's really liberating once you accept it. In fact, what I had to do in order for me to break free is I started going to an Al-Anon group. Yes, I know it's for families and loved ones of alcoholics, but it taught me the concepts about what I couldn't change in order for me to disconnect and start finding the support I needed to walk away. So this is really important for you to remember. You can't change them. You could only change your choices and how you decide you're going to respond. So here's the part that might be really uncomfortable, and dealing with anything difficult is never comfortable, but it's so important for our growth. We need to honestly examine our own behaviors and patterns. So we could be the one delivering some of these narcissistic traits. It's easy to get caught up with everyday world and lose what's important, the self-awareness. That's why I keep harping on about it. First off, ask yourself, do I struggle to empathize with others when I'm stressed? Am I comfortable with others setting boundaries with me? Can I apologize genuinely when I've hurt someone? And do I respect others? No, even when it's inconvenient for me. And these are areas that we can start working on to thrive, to be better at. But we need to recognize them. Self-awareness, journaling. It's not about self-attack. And I always say about the bat, put it away. It's not about that at all. It's about self-awareness, learning, and growth. We all have capacity for narcissistic behaviors. That's me included. I just try to be aware of it and put it into check. But when we're hurting and scared and overwhelmed, they can creep in. The goal is to catch ourselves and make different choices. So I can say at the end of the day, listen. Dealing with narcissistic patterns, whether it's within ourselves or others, it isn't easy. Not easy at all. It can be downright painful. But knowledge is power, and boundaries, effectively, is love. You deserve a relationship or any relationship that's equal, respectful, and life-giving. If you're in a situation that feels dangerous, please reach out to professionals. There are hotlines, and I'm going to list them in on our webpage. So there are often crisis situations or anything happening. I'm going to list a variety of phone numbers, whether they be in America, Canada, UK, a variety of them. But I highly recommend that you seek out those hotlines and crisis numbers for the area you're located in. And that way, they're available to you when you need them. But I'll list several on our website at www.hoperegain.com. Our podcast here, it's not about replacing professional help. Professional help, if it's the right one, and it's about interviewing what's going to work for you, who's going to work for you, is so important too. We're only here to support you and to help you in your own personal growth, or to give you ideas and outside opportunities to reach out for that professional help, because you're worth it. Remember, your peace of mind matters more than anything. Your feelings are always valid. They're yours, nobody else's. And you have way more power than you think, so that you could take that power to create the life and the relationship that you deserve. If you know someone that this could help, please share it with them. And don't forget to grab the free worksheet that I've created, also on our website. Remember to like and subscribe so you don't miss anything going forward. You can also find us on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and any of your favorite podcast platforms. Again, I can't say this means so much to me that you're here with us, because it's a topic that means so much to me. And sometimes I have to fight back the tears because of what I went through. I really don't want anybody else to go through the same. And if this can help somebody step away from a relationship that's damaging and dangerous, I relish in that. I'm always here. You can reach out to me through DMs or through our contact us page. I'm willing to listen. I want to hear your story, and I want to hear of your successes. And even if I can be a shoulder to lean on, I'm here. I don't want you to have to go through anything that I've been through in the past. So until next week, please keep rediscovering your love for life, one boundary at a time. This life is yours, and we only come by it once. So making that choice, as difficult as it can be, choose it, because it can be so much better and happier every day. We'll see you next week. Hang in there. I know you've got this, and I'll be here with you for something new.